So the project is based in Nepal, where my aim is firstly to introduce sustainable energy and to provide a reliable and economic source of power for a children's home currently under construction. And secondly, to promote green technologies and education for the children. The Nestling Trust is a small Wiltshire-based charity which aims to provide a home for destitute children in Nepal, as well as basic healthcare centres for remote villages. What really appeals to me about this charity is the fact that it's very small. Every pound donated to it is spent directly in Nepal. Compared to other larger outfits operating in the region, it has no administrative costs and very small overheads. It is run by a small and committed group of trustees based in Wiltshire and Nepal, and they are making a difference. Not only this, they've been very supportive of my proposition to install solar capacity on the children's home. Sandbrook is located just outside of Pokhara, which by Nepalese standards is a very rich city. In fact, it's its second largest city. However, despite this proximity, Sandbrook is very poor and small at only 1,000 households. This is due in part because of its geography. Situated at 1,600 metres above sea level and on very steep slopes, makes farming, house building and other forms of economic activity very difficult to carry out. To add to this, frequent earthquakes cause land slippages and damage property. In fact, the most recent one in 2015 happened just days after the final go-ahead was given to the construction of the children's home, thus delaying the project by a number of months. In the aftermath period of the quake, the Nestling Trust came into its own, buying and distributing humanitarian aid, as well as providing water to villages whose springs had dried out due to the geological activity. This involved digging trenches and laying down pipes to connect the villages to the springs which were unaffected by the quake. In all, £10,000 was quickly raised by the Nestling Trust and sent over. In order to increase the sustainability of the children's home, I gave a range of proposals to the trustees. My initial proposal was a methane generator which would turn cow dung into methane gas. This could be used as a clean cooking fuel, and was something I learned about and used whilst living in Indonesia. However, there were cultural problems because, as in India, cows are sacred, thus they are not widely commercially farmed, so there is a lack of cow manure available. However, this may be possible further down the line, as the current fundraising goal is another £10,000 to build a workshop and farm area to provide further sustainability and independence. Ultimately, solar panels were found to be the most effective at solving the pressing issue for the home, which was powering it in a reliable and cost-effective fashion. Energy in Nepal is expensive and intermittent, and doesn't lend itself to powering key equipment such as computers and fridges. The next issue to consider was where to source the panels. There were three options of where to buy them: the UK, locally in Nepal, or sourcing them directly from China. Having spent the last 2 summers working for a solar company, the positive aspects of using solar panels from the UK is that their quality is extremely high, and they have warranties that can be upheld. However, transporting them, combined with the import tariffs in India, make it a safe but expensive option. Sourcing the panels from China would certainly be the cheapest option, but I am reluctant to go along this route because, on a previous project, I learnt that suppliers can be unscrupulous and the consumer has little recourse there. And once again, the logistics can be a nightmare. Buying panels directly from Nepal would be more expensive than China and would not guarantee quality, but logistically it would be easier as they would already be within the country. On top of this, it would be providing a small amount of much needed FDI for the local economy. So what makes solar energy viable in Sandbrook? Well, firstly I had to ascertain whether the children's home was being built on a south-facing side of the mountain, which luckily it was. Climatically, Nepal is well suited to harness solar energy. Being close to the equator means that it gets plenty of sunlight hours, not only in summer but in winter months too. As you can see from these charts, temperatures on average are 25 to 26 degrees, and typically don't go lower than 7 degrees. This was a relief, because at first glance at these charts, given that we're talking about the Himalayas, I was concerned by the high precipitation rate, and the possibility of snow covering the panels. However, as the temperatures rarely go below freezing, and the heaviest rainfall occurs in summer, this is not a problem. Once given the go-ahead by the trustees, I started a dialogue with the architect based in Nepal. He drew up two different options for a solar panel setup. Option 1 will power 36 LED lights for a total of 8 hours after dark. It consists of 2 solar panels, 2 batteries, 1 charge controller, 1 solar inverter, as well as the necessary mounting and installation materials. This totals 327,912 Nepali rupees, which equates to £2,447. Option 2 would also power 36 LED lights, but also an additional 4 computers and a laser printer, again for 8 hours after dark. The difference with this option is that it will have 4 times the number of solar panels and mounts, and 3 times the number of batteries. And this comes to around 675,000 Nepalese rupees, which equates to £5,037. Not surprisingly, my preferred option is number 2, as it will have the greatest impact. I am fully aware that the Richard Sandbrook Award, even at its most generous, won't cover the costs of this option, so I have a range of fundraising opportunities planned which have been endorsed by the trustees. One of them is a pop-up music concert at Little Cheverel House on the 2nd of September, which is one to put in the diary. Luckily, installing solar power generation is a modular process, and as such, both options are equally viable in future. As fundraising goals are met, more capacity can be installed in the grid. It is because of this fact that I will prioritise purchasing the charge controllers and solar inverters. I will ensure these key components have a high WP rating. WP stands for watts peak, and it dictates how many watts the equipment can handle. This is important because the watts generated fluctuate during the day in response to light intensity and temperature. This will allow the Nestling Trust the flexibility to add further solar panels to its grid in future and configure it to suit its own needs. Whilst this by no means takes the pressure off me in meeting my fundraising targets, it does allow for a bit of wiggle room, as all the money does not have to be put up front before the project can get started. One of the reasons this project appeals to me is that it is not finite. Introducing and promoting sustainability in the area will be an ongoing project and something that Dauntseans can get involved in future. I am hoping to self-fund a trip over to the orphanage, not only for the solar panel installation, but also to promote green awareness amongst the children. Talking to trustee Sue Hamlin, they are ultimately hoping to have a small farm and to be as self-sufficient as possible. Having benefited from green education myself and seen the success of solar power here at Dauntseas, hopefully I might be able to offer some ideas on the subject. Thank you very much for taking the time to consider my proposal. If we don't get these children off the streets and educated, the alternatives are really quite horrific.